Welcome everyone, warm welcome to the first workshop. And so today I've chosen this topic with a lot of care, okay? To pack something in 40 minutes that will have an impact on you requires a lot of thinking. So what I bring to you is my personal story, some other stories, some experiences. So first I bring to you a story. It's a Peruvian fable. So it comes from the land of Incas. This is the ancient Peruvian people. They had a lot of respect for every living being where they lived. So they felt every living being has an energy and we need to exist in harmony with them. And they hold three animals in great respect. And the first one of them, they say, and these three animals represents three levels of consciousness. What is consciousness? Anybody? When you say conscious, what do you mean? Being aware, absolutely. So consciousness is being in the state of awareness and being responsive to our surroundings. A little bit akin to mindfulness, as you would have heard the term a lot. So they say that these three animals represent the three levels of consciousness. The first one being the snake. What do you know about the snake? Huh? Louder, louder. It's just us. Huh? Yes. So snake is a symbol of strength and courage and protection from evil spirits. And one thing that you know about the snake is that it sheds its skin every year. So what they believed about the snake was that because it sheds what is not useful to it and grows it into a new snake, a new skin every time, it is able to, as human beings, we should shed what's not useful to us and try and learn new things to answer life's difficult questions so that we can move forward in life. The second level of consciousness is represented by the puma. The puma, everybody knows puma shoes, it's a wildcat. So the puma is actually a symbol of courage, patience and adaptability. What does the puma do? It's a master of the Amazon, the jungle. And what it does is that it can adapt to conditions because it can get very cold. It's in the Andes mountains. It can get very cold. It has a thick skin. It can adapt to different things. And not only that, it has patience. When it's about to pounce for its prey, it has the patience to wait for the right moment till it pounces. And the third quality of the puma is that it's got stability. So it's got this long tail which allows it to balance, right? So even if it's perched precariously, it still balances itself. So that's the second level of consciousness. The third level of consciousness is represented by the bird called condor. Have you ever heard of the condor? It's a huge bird. It's got a wingspan of 10 feet and it perches high above everything else and purviews the world under it from high above. It represents freedom. The big wings represent freedom. And to reach the level of the condor, we have to go through this chaos and confusion and shedding our old self and becoming new, regenerating ourselves to have the patience and the courage and the stability of a puma so that we can be wiser and mature and attain the status of the condor. So why do I bring this story to you? What is it to us? Because as we are growing mature and wiser, we need to shed something that's not useful to us. So the question for you today is that why are you here today? How can you raise the level of your consciousness? Because if you continue doing what you were doing, then you will get what you always got. Marshall Goldsmith has said that what got you here today is not going to get you there. So it's about raising your level of consciousness. So take a moment and think about and write it. What would you like to take away from this session? We have about 30 minutes. This is an interactive session. You can tell me no, you can tell me yes. Yes? Yes. Okay, thank you. So the three takeaways that we are looking at is why handling your self-doubt is important. You know we all go through self-doubts. We take one step forward and then we don't even take it forward. We pull it back before we put the step forward. What can you do to feel empowered? How can you take responsibility for your growth and fulfillment? Okay. So what I have for you here today is one introduction and context setting. We've done that. We're going to look at the wheel of life. We'll look at basic human needs, and you will understand then why you are here today. Liminality and law of the farm, leverage your strengths, and 3 feet from gold, and wrap up. So this is what you're going to cover today, and very quickly, tell me what is the one situation that restricted your career growth? What's one thing that comes to you? Family? Moving from one place to another? Parenting? Family, isn't it? We think that job is so important, we don't want to leave it to anybody else, right? So actually, this is a survey that we did for a set of women, and if you look at it, one of the main thing was family. I put family and flexibility in one, self-doubt, office politics, others. These are some of the things, and all of us tend to think that this is the reason that we have not made a change. And when I talk to you about the basic human needs, you will unpack some of this a little more. So, but before we go forward, let's take stock. I want you to draw a circle in your notepad, okay? Make 8 sections. Doesn't have to be beautiful, I'm not going to be looking at it. And put few areas of your life that are important to you, key areas of your life that are important to you, and where you are spending time and effort. And they may be important to you and you may not be spending time and effort on it, but still have it on the wheel. It could be anything. It could be fun, friends, people, extended family, one child, another child in separate boxes, right? Different time and effort needed for different children. Exercise, spirituality, anything that is a key area in your life and is important to you. Okay, then look at the time and effort you spend on it, and from a scale of 0 to 10, just shade it. So it will look something like this, okay? Shade it, depending on, okay, I would say 5, I would say 6, I would say 8. Based on that, shade it. And it's a rough idea, you will know. It's not a precise thing, it's just a general idea of what you feel about. Yeah, yes, exactly. How it is now, as is. So shade it, make sure you shade it, it will give you a picture then. So how's the wheel looking? Is it looking somewhat like this? Lopsided? Have you seen a wheel roll? How will it roll if it's like this? It will be a bumpy ride, isn't it? So when our wheel is not balanced, and now it's a picture in front of you that it's not balanced, it's likely to give us a very bumpy ride. So think of the area that you want to increase your time and effort in and circle it just for yourself. So you can draw a wheel of those of you who just come. Just draw a circle, make 8 sections. Yeah, and 8 sections like this, and look at key areas in your life where you've spent your time and effort, and shade it and see how it looks, somewhat like this. It doesn't have to be these areas, it can be Your areas can be different. Okay, so now that you know that that's how your wheel of life is looking, and you have identified areas where you want to put in more effort, right? Time and effort. So I want to help you understand why that wheel is looking like that and why you may need to want it to get it balanced. Because there are 6 basic human needs. And you've heard of Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. Some of you would have heard of that. But this I bring to you from Tony Robbins. He's worked with 3 million people, and he talks about the 6 basic needs of human beings. He says human beings are motivated with the desire to fulfill these needs, and by becoming aware of these needs, we can understand why we make the choices we make. Excuse me. Why we make the choices we make and why we take the decisions that we do take. Be comfortable, put your back down. So the first 4 needs that he talks about are the needs for the personality. We all have a need for certainty. What's the need for certainty? All of us want certain consistency, predictability in our life. We need to know that we have a home to go to, that there's food to eat, that there's a roof over our head, and some of us need many more things to be certain, that our finances are paid for. At the basic, and remember, these are needs, these are not wants and desires. When we don't fulfill it, then we feel out of balance. So the first one, the need for certainty, it's actually a basic primal need, that our DNA should be sustained. We want that, and that's why family, the concept of family and having an offspring exists. So at the most basic level, we want to know that we can pay our bills. We need to know that we are safe in whatever we are doing, and we are safe in our relationships. Now what can happen with the need for certainty? At one point, on a positive side, it gives us predictability, consistency, we know what we are doing, we are feeling safe. On the challenging side, what can happen? Our need so the world around us is changing forever. The need of the people around us are changing forever, right? Your child was 5, now he's 10, now his needs are changing, he wants you to be different, no longer can you be the interfering mother that you used to be. So what happens with the need for certainty is that if the need is too strong, then we put a fence of control around us, and then we resist change, and we even resist healthy change. That's on the negative side. The other one, where paradoxically we have the need for uncertainty. Now if I were to say, every day in the morning you will just have bread, egg and cereal for all your life, how would you be? No, we don't want that, because we have a need for uncertainty. What does that mean? We have a need for excitement, we have the need to evolve, we need to do different things, we need variety, right? Now uncertainty is great because it allows us, that need allows us to do different things. The fact that you all walked in here, you're experiencing something different, isn't it? What can it do on the negative side, on the challenging side? Our need for uncertainty can be too much, in the sense that, okay, you start something, then you don't finish it, you say, oh, I'll go do something different, and you may want to change location every time, you may want to change jobs every time, and you may even want to change spouses frequently. So for some people, it can be so much. Now the thing is, the need for certainty and uncertainty, while they are opposing forces, they work together. They are like yin and yang. If you have disbalance in one side, you can actually get balance. So if you're too bored, I remember when my firstborn she came within 10 months of my marriage, and I was saying, what is this thing? It never lets me out of the house. I mean, I can't even go and have lunch. So then just going out for lunch with a friend was a wonderful thing, because it kind of gave me something new to experience and brought balance back. Then I could come and look after her. The third need is the need for significance, and this is the need why you are here today. The need for significance arises from all of us wanting to create an identity of our own. It is, we want to be part of a bigger whole. We want to do something, we want to give expression to something that we want to give expression to. We want to feel validated, we want to feel pride in what we are doing, and we want to be accepted by the world for what we do. The need for significance on the positive side is wonderful. It helps us to create that identity. It gets us validation. People accept us for what we do. On the flip side, if we spend too much time on the need for significance, then we can get addicted to that source of validation. And it could be like some people can only do their job. They do only their job, and that becomes a single source of addiction. We are always looking for external validation. We don't have our own sense of judgment of why I'm doing what I'm doing. The paradoxical need to that is the need for love and connection. So why some of you gave up your careers was because at that time, your need for love and connection needed to be fulfilled. You had a baby that was dependent on you. So if we spend too much time on the need for significance and not in love and connection, then we won't be able to make those genuine, authentic connections. There is a study, a research, which says that each one of us needs to have at least one person who loves us unconditionally. If we don't have that, we will lose our equilibrium. So the need for love and connection is about creating those authentic relationships which are not conditional to what I am as an identity. And while need of significance can fill our cups temporarily, it is love and connection which keeps us sane and secure, right? So again, these two needs work together. They are paradoxical in nature. If you spend too much time doing one and not the other, then, and that's, if you can relate this to yourself, right? You spend a lot of time taking care of family. A lot of you said that family was the reason, but that's not enough. Why? Because the need for significance is not getting fulfilled. You've not been able to give expression to what's you and your identity, isn't it? Great. So there are other two needs, which are the need for the spirit, as it says, the need for growth. Now everything needs to grow. Whether it's a microorganism, it's us, any person, any human being, any living being, or even a creative endeavor. Something like Jobs for Her, if it's not fueled by new ideas, new input, it's going to die. There will come a point when things can stagnate and we can die. And you would have seen it in people around you who were amazing. They were like trendsetters. And I know a cousin of mine, she was MBA in like 40 years back, but her family didn't allow her to work, and she is now always complaining. I mean, she's a grandmother now, but she still doesn't feel satisfied because what she wanted to do with her life, that need has not got fulfilled. So you would have seen people who've not been able to grow in that area. Now the issue with growth is that we can all want to learn and we can continue learning, saying I need to know more, I need to know more, but we are scared to apply it. And the point is that you can give yourself permission to be imperfect. So if you go and join a job today, and when I went back to work, PowerPoint when I left work, people had barely heard of PowerPoint. When I came back, these 10 years younger than me, people were creating PowerPoints like anything, and I was like, which world have I come to? And I was lost in my first job, but it's okay. I'm learning. I learned, and I overcame all that. So you will have, and you can't learn everything and get back. Some things you will learn on the job. So it's about giving yourself permission and being okay with being imperfect, not aim for perfection. The need for growth feeds on the first four needs of the personality. If those needs are not met, if we don't try something new, if we don't go and be somewhere and give expression to what we are doing, then our need for growth is not going to be met. And then there is the need for contribution. We don't live for ourselves. It's a need to live for others. If you are just on your own, do you have any meaning? If you were left on an island and you were fulfilling all your needs, actually you won't be able to fulfill all your needs. Would you be happy all by yourself? No. We need to give, we need to contribute, we need to be part of a bigger whole where we are needed for the effort that we give in. So how do you relate to these needs? The point is that we can have all these needs, and the question is, are we meeting these needs resourcefully or unresourcefully? For example, I could meet my need for significance and I'm telling you about myself, I could, economically, I'm not dependent on the money that I earn. I could meet for it by having lunch every week with different sets of friends, talking about this, talking about clothes, talking about new exhibitions that have come, and I could talk, and it may feel, oh, she's a source of information, she's got stories to tell, but that would be unresourceful for me because my need for significance will not really be met. What could be a more significant way of meeting? For example, I did a webinar for Inc.Her, which is the not-for-profit arm for Jobs for Her, where I did a webinar for a set of people, and out of that I said 2 people I will coach pro bono. And I coached, and then just about 4 days back, I coached one person, and she had a breakthrough session on phone. And to me, that met my need for significance. So you can do volunteer work, you can be part of a community where your need for contribution is met. So of course, you will have to figure that out, and nothing is easy. Let me tell you, nothing is easy. If we don't take the steps that we have to take, then we won't. Tony Robbins says people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So that's to say that if you start taking the steps, you don't know where things will lead. So how are you meeting these needs? What can you do to be resourceful in meeting the unmet needs? So those are some of the questions that you have to ask yourself and answer them for yourself, right? And I think you are here to do that exactly today, right? Okay, I know all of you are thinking. Yes? I want to share the concept of liminality and law of the farm. I've written an article called, so if you Google liminality and Smriti Goyal, you'll find the article. And of all the articles I've written, I'm very proud of that one. I want to own that up honestly, because I think I have brought together my whole life experience and what each one of us goes through. So liminality is a concept that came into being brought into being by somebody called Arthur Van Gennep. He's an anthropologist, and he talks about limin as a word means threshold, and liminality is the state of being suspended, being neither here nor there, between or betwixt. And he talks about the fact that when the youngsters, the boys, when they are being initiated into adulthood. So as teenagers, if you have, anybody has teenagers here? Yeah. Did you think that things suddenly changed? What happened to this son of mine or this daughter of mine? Such loving person, what's happened? It comes as a shock. Hormones are happening. They should send, as one psychologist says, that they should hand a placard saying that my brain is out of function. So it's not functioning, so please deal with me in that. And he talks about liminality as that space when they are initiated. So some tribes have ceremonies that initiate them into that space of adulthood. And then when they reach that state of adulthood, then there's a closing ceremony. And in between is the liminal space. Why this concept is important? And this happens in a lot of our communities as well. So he talks about Africa, but it happens, there are ceremonies down south of, when a girl attains puberty. And of course, that's for more other reasons that she's fertile. So, she can be married off. But also, it initiates them into, unfortunately, in our world, does anybody tell you that, listen, you are in a liminal space? It's okay. This is only the starting point. There will be a point when there will be a point of arrival. Nobody tells us that, right? And we have to create it ourselves. So the issue is that when we change stuff, when we have, when we've given up our career, we have children to be brought up, we can't, just now Neha was talking, she says, I didn't have the heart to leave my baby to anyone. I didn't have a heart to leave my 6-month-old and 2.5-year or 2-year-old to anyone. If I can't manage, who else can manage? So, and there were days when I would sit and cry, go to the fridge, pop a chocolate in my mouth and come back to look after those 2 because it was so stressful to look after them, even with the help. So anyway, and people who have twins, you can imagine. What I want to talk about along with liminality is that there's also the law of the farm. If you wanted a tree laden with fruits, is it possible for you to sow the seed today and get it tomorrow? It's not possible. All of us know that. We all know that. So if a farmer wants fruits and he wants his crop, he has to sow the seed, he has to nurture it, he has to water it, and he has to wait for it to happen. It has to watch over it. And so all of us have that in us, isn't it? We can sow the seed of where we want to be, and we can make sure that we nurture it, we nourish it, and we get a crop that we want. Do we have that in us or not? Each one of us has it. So when you juxtapose the two things, so you might be in a liminal space right now, but if you were to plant a seed, what would that seed be? And what are you willing to do to get the crop that you want? So that's a concept I wanted to talk about. To meet what? The need for significance and growth and contribution. So let me ask you this. What are the 2-3 things that people said about you in the past when you had not left your careers? What is it that they said about you? Strengths. Meticulous. They said about you, you have good balance. Earlier. Now the balance has tilted a little bit. Only at one place. What else did they say about you in the past? Who said good things about you in the past? Not now, before you kind of were in this liminal space. You can.
Go and get it done.
Yeah. So that's how you are.
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. What else? Yes.
They said you're a hard worker, an outstanding performer, an extrovert, a public speaker,
Huh.
but everything like has gone in vain.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And that's what I want to talk. Now tell me, what are the strengths that you have developed since you took a career break? Patience, multitasking. On that table? Emotionally strong. From that table? Patience. And many things. Somebody even talked about coping under pressure, right? You are handling messages from all sides. Sometimes I listen to all the things my husband says to me as he's leaving without knowing that I have an important presentation to make, and I just sit there and listen to him and note it down and get to it when I want to get to it. That's what you can do after you've been married for 25 years. Pardon me? Prioritizing, absolutely. Now, a lot of these things like patience and coping under pressure and multitasking, the strengths that we have developed, I didn't know I had these strengths when I went back to work. And I was going to share an example which I forgot to share. Let me share it now. So, we were talking about the need for certainty and uncertainty. So, when we were in Gurgaon, this is in 2006, we had been in Gurgaon for 6 years. My children were going to this wonderful Sri Ram school. I had my wonderful work colleagues. One of them is here, Sangeeta, right at the back. And I didn't want to leave this place. And my husband got a job offer from Nigeria. Job offer meaning he was being transferred and getting a promotion, taking a managing director post of West Africa for GlaxoSmithKline. Now for him, it was a big thing, right? It's the next level because it shapes his future. And we went for a look and see. And you know how Nigeria is. It's known for its law and order, lack of law and order situation, right? And I didn't want to leave this cozy place. And we went there for the look and see, and I saw the wheels whirring in my husband's head. It was like, business can be grown like this and like that. There's a lot of scope. And I just zipped myself. Now, here was my need for certainty to be able to manage what was, to have what I had, with most important being children going to a good school. I only know how much I cried to get admission in that school, and I did get it. And then there was this uncertainty that was looming in front of us, where I didn't even know whether I would get a job or not. Because when I said, oh, maybe I can do workshops on emotional intelligence, somebody told me, what are you talking about? They don't know any such thing. That's kind of stuff you can't do in Nigeria. I said, okay. I went there. And believe you me not, I got the job offer of my life. If I had looked the whole world over, I wouldn't have got that offer. with KPMG. I worked with them for 3 years, handling their learning and development practice. Nobody, no KPMG in the world would give me that job, but they did. Yeah. They gave me that job, and not only did I do the job, and you know how women are. When I got the job offer, I asked my husband, "Do you think I can do the job? I've never worked for the Big Four. This is how we are." So he says, "Yes, you'll be able to do it." And not only did I do the job, I blossomed into it. First of all, I got my need for significance was met, and not only that, I grew. Within 1.5 years, I got my promotion. And when we were leaving, my name came up for partnership. That was 2009. And here I was ready to give that all up. So that's why sometimes one has to take that step and not resist change just for the sake of resisting it. So evaluate it well. So, and I realized when I did that I have developed strength. I nurtured my teams. I was in no rat race. I already had the big part of my life settled. So I was in no rat race. I was nurturing my team members, and there was like the national senior partner of KPMG told the whole crowd before I was leaving that he actually said, "We won't let your husband go because we don't want you to leave." And that was huge recognition, and the confidence that I gained in that job hasn't left me even when I'm, we moved I think 5-6 cities after that. I've lived in 19 places in all my life, so 10 after marriage. And that confidence hasn't left me even now. Right? So don't discount what you have developed. What is it? So if you are in a liminal space, what is it that you will do if you were guaranteed to succeed? If I told you that when you are at the arrival point, this is what you will be, okay? What is it that you will do today? What seed will you sow to make sure that you're ready for that arrival point? Can you think of one thing that you will do? Think of it, write it down for yourself. Believe, absolutely, believe in yourself, but what are the actions you will take? Because remember, without action, nothing happens, so you have to take action. And there's another concept that I talk about, and I talk about that in this program, Mind Over Matter, is that we need only 1 change. We don't need to change. We don't need to change everything. We don't need to change the world. We need to only change the view of the world. And I'll tell you why it's called. Because when women are considered extraordinarily beautiful when the height of the eyes, right, matches the portion between nose and the lip, okay, then they're considered, from ordinary they become extraordinarily beautiful. So women models, they go to cosmetologists and get that change done. So that 1 change shifts them from being ordinarily beautiful to extraordinarily beautiful. Even though I think it's a men's concept, I don't really believe in it. But the point that we are taking away from it is that if I'm walking in this line, and in every step I take, I make 1 change, where will I land? I'll land somewhere there, right? So you don't need to make huge changes in your life. So just have the courage to make those small changes, take that step and move forward. Absolutely. A big round of applause for all of us here. Even I have made that change. So I have invested here so that I can reach out to an audience like you. And that's a change for me. I wouldn't have done that before. So just as we wind up, there's another story I want to tell you about. It's called 3 Feet from Gold, and it's a true story. So in 1950s, there was this guy called R.U. Darby. Okay, he had an uncle called Herbie, and Herbie had the gold rush fever. In the 1950s, everybody was running in the US to the west side of the US because they found gold in California and upstate there. So he went and he found a vein of gold, and he said, "Oh, good." He came home to the east of US, I don't know which state, Florida, and he took his nephew Darby, and they both went there, and they borrowed money to get the equipment, and they started digging for gold. And they dug for gold, and they filled their car with it, and then they said, "Oh, now this will pay our debts of whatever we have borrowed, and now we'll get more, and we're going to get really, really rich." And Funnily, after a little while, that vein stopped. There was no more gold. And self-doubts hit them. They said, oh, why did we think that we can even make anything? Who said you could get rich like this? There is no way that we could have got rich like that. We were foolish to believe all this. Let's just go back and do our thing. And so they sold the machine to a junk guy, and and they went home. And this junk guy, he said, let me think about it. Let me call a mining engineer. He called a mining engineer, and he said, you know what, there are fault lines. And when a vein stops, then it's likely to start somewhere a little bit below. And he did some digging, and they found that 3 feet from there, the vein of gold started again. And the junk guy became extremely rich, and those people, Darby and Harvey, they realized that they should have just waited because they were only 3 feet away from gold. Fortunately, Darby never forgot that lesson. He never took no for an answer, and he became a very rich and successful insurance sales agent. And my point to you right now is you're only 3 feet away from gold. So don't stop, persevere, invest in yourself. And one of the things I want to tell you, I run this program called Mind Over Matter, and make sure that you find a way to take that step, plant that seed. And one of the ways of doing that is this, because I work in this for you to visualize your future, unpack your limiting beliefs, because sometimes we are not even aware that we have limiting beliefs, and then create new behavioral patterns. We have to do something different, because otherwise we'll still be where we were, and act with intent. And that's not just a program, it's a workshop. I have my table here. If you want to find out more about it, please, you're welcome to come and see me there. And I also have brochures, etc. here. So I wish you all the very best. Looking forward to seeing a new you in whichever way, plant whatever seed you need to do, but do take action. So all the very best. Mind for gold within you. It is there. Any questions?
Do you think organizations these days are really, making it comfortable for the women to actually get back to work? Because I'll tell you my example. I actually took a mat for about 2 years with my baby. Again, a nuclear family, can't leave the kid with the domestic help. And then I got back as a consultant, because I could not do a full-time job. I explored, but people would not allow me to work from home frequently because I'm an MBA HR and had about 6 years of experience then. So I then started as a consultant, as a trainer and a content writer. So I'm a soft skill and behavioral trainer, and I panel with the company, where I go and take training for the corporates. Now last year I got a job with PwC, and I was about to join as a manager by 3 in Gurgaon. So I stayed in Delhi, again a long route for commuting and all. They did not allow me a work from home, and my kid was 5 years then. So I seriously thought it's okay for me to now get back to corporate.
Sure.
And just when I was about to join, my domestic help left, and she eloped with 4 guys just 2 days before I was about to join. And it was a no-show for me, and I again sat back home as a consultant and a trainer, sitting and crying, and why could I not join PwC?
Right.
I'm here again at the threshold wherein I again said, I'll get into depression if I now don't join, and I need to get back into a full-time role now.
Right.
Now when I get back, I have the, in my mind, of course, I think, will the companies now allow me a work from home in case, my domestic help is not there, my kid, goes cracky someday or is ill. I mean, how is it now? Because I seriously feel companies are not making it very, very comfortable for, women to get back to work. I mean, though they say.
So, sorry, your name, I'm not able to got your question. You are? Suruchi. Thanks for that question. I'm sure there are others who have a similar question. I can tell you 10 times when this has happened to me. I was interviewing with KPMG in London. I had cleared my first round, and I was going for my second interview already, and my husband says, we are moving to Johannesburg. Okay? How nice it would be to have that job. So I said, why can't I just go for the interview, get the job? He says, no, you'll jeopardize your chances in South Africa. So I listened to him, and I didn't go, but I still feel I should have gone and got the job. But that would have been against my own values of integrity. So it can happen to you. It has happened to me many times. I can quote many examples. The point is, the world will not change for you. And world may change and you can take advantage of it. So you have to look for what works for you, because you have to remember which the choices that you are making, they should keep your needs in balance. If your needs are not getting met, then you're not going to. My full-time maid in Dubai left me 10 days before my second one was being born, and I was working at that time. And so life will throw these things to you, and that's why you need to be able to figure out your own path. So don't think of it as, oh, the world did this to me. And that's why I talk about how can I take responsibility for what's I want to achieve in my life. And there is no definite answer for that, Suruchi. You will just continue to make choices, and you never know what might come up. Today I'm the happiest, and I can tell you I tried 100 things before I set all this up. I just didn't give up. That was the only thing. And I'm not going to give up. I always told people, listen, I'm unstoppable. If this doesn't work, then that will work, because I live with options and possibilities. I never live with, I already have one part of my life very secure. Everything else I'm doing is just extra. But that's for me. Yeah. I put my career on back burner for 22 years. When I say back burner, I kept myself relevant, so that when I am there, so I kept sowing the seeds, kept getting qualifications, so that when I'm free and ready, I come like a full force. So keep doing that. Sow the seeds.
When I could not do training, I started content writing. So, because my domestic health changed and I just could not step out of the house, I said, let me write, sit in the home and write.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing last 1 year now.
And get qualifications. Sometimes we don't invest. My NLP trainer says, अपनी फाइल ऊपर करो. हम लोग अपनी फाइल नीचे रखते हैं. So after he said that, I just said, am I putting my file down? No, let me put it up. So I would never tell off my husband anything, but I tell him off now. I said, listen, this is about me. I need to take care of this. If I don't, then I'll be a very unhappy person, and then you don't want me around. So let me do this. And they get the message, right? So, and Sheryl Sandberg talks about make your partner a real partner. Get them to pitch in, right? And there were times in KPMG when I had projects going on that my husband, and I used to live very close to my office and the school. But there are times that I just couldn't, and he would come all the way from mainland. It would take 2 hours to attend a parent-teacher meeting. So he did that. So I'm happy for that.
What should
How
be
can
the
you
next-
take, thank you for that question. Your name is?
Vandana.
Vanna, thank you for that question. How can you take responsibility for your growth and fulfillment? You've taken responsibility for your growth. When I was, and I can only give you my example, and maybe you will draw some inspiration from that, because the last thing I'd like to do is tell you what you should do. As a coach, I never do that. So when I quit my job and we moved from Bombay to Hyderabad, and I had to quit my job. This was two years back, and I was like 6 months, what to do. I said, let me try Deloitte. Deloitte has a 30,000 strong force in Hyderabad. I'm stationed in Hyderabad. And I went to Deloitte. This is wonderful, what experience. And suddenly, oh, we have a employment freeze. I said, okay. So of course there was anger, there was disillusionment, frustration, whatever. And then I said, I remember that I said when I turn 50, I'm going to set up my own consulting. I have turned 50, and so I'm going to set up my own consulting. And on 23rd November, I said, I'm going to run an open workshop for women, because all my experience has to be useful for someone. And in February, on 27-28 February, I ran my workshop for women, and I am not looking back. The point is, what have you got? How can you give it creativity? How can you nurture it? You have stuff. So don't listen to the messages from outside. You're not looking for external validation. You have to find your own way. So get your own sense of judgment and find a way out of it like that. And so like I said, I actually tried how many people I talked to, how many people I spoke to till this was born. And today I'm the happiest person. I do not want to be managed by incompetent bosses, because they would probably be younger than me 10 years. I don't want to be managed. I have enough life experience. I can make a difference, and I'm doing that. So think creatively, you will find a way. And do not discard what's not useful. Grow a new skin, okay? Do that.